with Renee.
Yo, yo, yo. We wait all week and all day for more. Saturdays with Renee.
What's up, world? Welcome back to Black Liberation Media and episode 113 of Saturdays with Renee, featuring Renee Johnston. I am Jared Ball. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon, put this in your socials, invite others to join you, do all those other things, and let's go. Renee!
What up, man? What up?
How you feeling this week?
Capitalism. I'm still here though. So I've decided that waking up every morning means I'm winning. That's the decision.
So that's interesting. That's a positive spin on something I've felt for a long time, which is a bit of its opposite, which is by the time my feet hit the ground from the bed in the morning, I've already compromised enough. So but yeah. And but yes, and we're glad you are here, and salute to all those in the chat. The undefeated chat, that is. But yeah, capitalism is capitalism. And
That's the new word. Capitalism is in.
capitalism is thing. And listen, I'm discombobulated in general, just because, again, my wife and I have now had to reconcile the fact that we are parents of adult children now. Our youngest turned
Yeah, that's
18
a rough
yesterday.
one. That's a rough one.
And it was a beautiful day, and yet a very difficult one. But she was born on my mother's birthday, who turned 92, and also on what was Panama's independence from Spain. So that's a pretty good day to do it. But
Those
yeah,
are some good. Those are some good highlights to celebrate.
yeah,
I think.
yeah. So but yeah, it's like, man, we don't have no more babies for real anymore. So,
Although I
but
feel like your youngest has not been a baby for a little while.
I mean,
A little while. You know.
nah, they're both doing very well, and I'm super proud. And
How's the
no, they are
college?
not.
How's the college search going?
Pretty good. So we've already got some good news, and we're waiting on more before we make any decisions. But she got into her top choice,
There you
and
go.
we're waiting for a bunch more. Yeah. Now, her listen, both of them. Uh, I worked on as a second or third contributor to both of their applications, and both of them are just sort of objectively really impressive. Um, so I expect a whole bunch of acceptance letters. I wasn't surprised at all. And uh it it's sort of local. We'll see. We'll have to see before we make any public announcements, but it's sort of local. Um, we encouraged proximity. uh, you know, but it's also going to come down to who can offer up a couple dollars. What kind of financial packages come with this thing, because you know yeah, it's driving distance. Yes, Leah, thank you. Yes, it is driving distance. uh You know, it's not down the street driving distance, but it's an easy drive, relatively speaking. So we'll see. We'll see. But
I gotta tell you, I don't like this double. I mean, I know it's easy to turn off, but this like double screen thing is really annoying.
so
And I think people in the chat don't realize how to like find.
so yeah, Amber. What's up, Amber? Yeah, so what I have not learned is how you turn off the option entirely. Because when I set up the streams, I only selected for the landscape. Um, but folks, we're talking about StreamYard has uh, granted now options in terms of landscape or portrait viewing. And when you set up the stream, you can pick one or the other or both. And I've selected only one, yet we get both. So if you sign on to the version of the stream with the cell phone icon, you're going to get the.
Right. And it splits the chat, which also.
Oh, really?
Yes. So like.
So we're not seeing everybody that's in this one.
So we see everybody on the back end,
but only the people on the phone.
On the YouTube side, the phone people see the phone people, and the landscape people see the landscape people.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's whack. So I don't know what to do, and I don't know why the cell phone version is important, because to me, if you're watching it on your phone and you want to turn it, you just turn it. You put it on full screen and turn it. So like I don't know why the preference would be for that, and who, you know, but what I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. What up? Oop. Actually, we could say what up. What up, Steven? Peace, Ricky. I'm about to send you an email.
That's fun. Yeah. Because I think the plan is, well, I'm not sure where we are with the plan at this exact moment. I know, as you saw in the thumbnail, folks, the plan is to talk with Black Alliance for Peace founder Jamu Baraka, and we'll see. We'll hold tight for a minute on that. We do have other Renee loaded up the run sheet. So
as always. Well, what I was trying to do, because part of my excitement with having Ajmu come on is like he is so versed in all of the international stuff, and so we don't always have opportunity to have people on with that level of knowledge on what's happening outside of the country. And so what I indeed loaded up the run sheet were all the things that have been going on, you know, recently, that I thought, you know, we could kind of talk about, because we didn't really have a full plan. It was mostly shit's wild. And so, you know, we see what's going on. So
it's wild. That's the headline.
It is. And even the national stuff, like, you know, this alleged shooting that happened in DC. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's really where you're supposed to put alleged, since it actually happened, but the whole story behind that situation has all of my antennas going. Like I have my full foil hat built.
So I admit I checked out. I'm looking forward to following your lead, because I checked out at Afghan assailant, and I was like, oh Lord.
But see, you shouldn't have checked out, because if you read like the next paragraph,
I know,
you would have found out that he had been working with the CIA for over a decade, had been given opportunity to come here because he was so helpful to the US government while in Afghanistan. And then when he got here, he was waiting for everything to go through. And it is only this past summer that he actually was cleared via asylum status. And so I'm like, y'all can't be real with this story.
I mean, that's what I keep saying. Like,
Oh my God.
I know,
Y'all can't be real with this story, man.
I know we're not supposed to be. First of all, I was about to quote Chomsky again, but are we allowed to quote Chomsky after those Epstein
I
emails
mean,
came out?
you can quote him as long as you remind everybody that like 3 years ago, he literally said, what? He did his time. Why wouldn't I still be talking to him? So I don't know why anybody's
And he
surprised.
and his wife are like sending congratulatory emails and talking about how they look forward to the next dinner that they're going to have. But once upon a time, Chomsky did say that they used the phrase conspiracy theorists to discourage institutional analysis. And
yeah, true.
And
he's right.
He's right. And letters of recommendation. Exactly, Jared.
That's wild. Wild.
They're writing letters. Oh my God. And spending hours together. And then I was even thinking, I was like, how many, probably thousands, if not more, activists, scholars, leftists, intellectuals would have loved the opportunity to sit with Chomsky for multiple dinners and what did he say in those, having many deep discussions about important topics of the day that he was so well versed in. And yet it's Epstein that gets all this time. But but to your point about the tinfoil, if you don't want me to think conspiracy, you all got to stop playing around like this. Like, you got to stop being. Everybody that's involved used to be rocking with the CIA.
But I mean, to the point where he was because I also, after, you know what, you're good. Why don't you go give the count? You can give the counterpoints from that article because
okay,
it laid the whole storyline out.
Sure.
That makes it well deserving of me building my tinfoil hat. And then we can talk about the government program.
Yeah. So just so we're clear, that this is NPR's reporting here from 2 days ago. National Guard shooting suspect served in CIA counterterrorism unit group says. Ramanullah Lakanwal, the Afghan man who allegedly shot 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, previously served in one of Afghanistan's elite counterterrorism units, according to Afghan EVAC, a nonprofit run by U.S. veterans and others who served in Afghanistan. The unit was operated by CIA with direct U.S. intelligence and military support, according to Afghan EVAC. Lakanwal's unit and at NDS-3 operated at the direction of the CIA and fought the Taliban on behalf of the U.S. government, the group said. The director, John Ratcliffe, said in a statement earlier Thursday that the shooter involved in the attack, who came to the U.S. from Afghanistan in 2021, was admitted into the U.S. due to his prior work with the U.S. government, including the CIA. All right. He is likely to have been vetted multiple times. He was evacuated by the U.S. military in August 2021. He arrived in the U.S. under a humanitarian role, the temporary authority used to evacuate tens of thousands of Afghans on special immigrant visas. During the press conference on Thursday, FBI Director Kash Patel said Lakanwal's involvement with U.S. and allied forces in Afghanistan would be central focus of the investigation. The subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces, Patel said. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or who are here in the United States of America. He blamed Patel said without providing evidence that Lochinwall was allowed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. That's very important, everybody. This is not Trump's fault. Patel blamed the failure to vet in any way, shape, or form this individual and countless others. Lochinwall had an active special immigrant visa. He'd been approved for asylum as well. Let's see. That would have required reviewing and vetting by U.S. government, including the CIA. In an interview with NPR, the founder of Afghan evac, Navy veteran Sean Van Diver, said it's premature to say whether Lochinwall warranted more scrutiny. The violent act does not reflect the Afghan community, which continues to contribute across the United States and undergo some of the most extensive vetting of any immigrant population, Afghan evac said in a statement. So, what is the track record now for violent acts committed in the United States by foreign actors who had previous training with the CIA? I feel like they're doing really well.
They doing a bang up job.
I mean, my goodness. It feels like the only way to be successful in attacking the United States is to have first been trained by the CIA.
That part. So they mentioned a program, and I don't even remember if it was in that article or something else that I was reading, but y'all know how I get. So they mentioned this program that was a program that was created and put in place by Biden. So, I mean, it was definitely announced by Biden, and it definitely is something that kicked off when he, quote unquote, ended the war in Afghanistan, right? Because we all know what that actually looked like. But so there's a link to that program write-up, and it's they have all these notes now about these things being
Operation Allies Welcome.
That's the one. Look, Leah called it. That's it.
You got it. She called it.
She called it.
What did she put in? I didn't see the comment. But
sorry.
But Leah got it.
It moves too fast. Operation Welcome.
Yeah. On August 29th, 2021, President Biden directed the Department of Homeland Security to lead and coordinate ongoing efforts across federal government to support vulnerable Afghans, including those who worked alongside us in Afghanistan for the past 2 decades, as they safely resettle in the United States. At the president's direction, the Secretary of Homeland Security is working with representatives from across the government to coordinate our response to ensure unity of effort. Okay.
So basically, this is why they're jumping on this whole Biden brought him here thing, is because of that program. But they're so quick to do the whole Biden brought him here that no one is picking up that his asylum request was approved this summer that just passed under Trump. So they would have been the people to do the final vetting, the final steps, the final approval. And so, I just feel like everybody should join me in creation of the tinfoil hat. It may be another 5 to 10 years before we find out what actually happened. But it just the whole thing just, it just stinks, man. The whole thing just stinks. And I can't, all I can think of is all the places where the CIA goes and creates absolute havoc. Right. And so the idea that the CIA would not also create havoc here, should it choose to do so, would be, I think, probably short-sighted, right? I think. And we should also remember, and the third article in that groupings is from the AP News, which, I'm not big on quoting them too much, but I think people should be really, really clear about the additional things that are happening as this is going on. So just remember that the National Guard has been in DC for months, right? And was just told that he has to remove his troops. They have to pull them, right? So the judge that blocked this deployment basically said, we're going to hold off on making it a mandate and give you time to pull these troops. This was like 5 or 6 days ago, 5 or 6 days before this shooting happened. So then the shooting happens, and now he sent more troops to DC because it is in response to this shooting. So, you know, you have to we have to always pull those threads, right? Like follow the through line, that now the thing that he wanted to do, which was keep the National Guard deployed within Washington, D.C., he is now going to force to happen based on this act that was done by someone who was here who had been working for the CIA.
Wow. Well, you know, it's funny you were saying what you were saying about the CIA, because one of the more ridiculous ways I spend some of my media time is by watching this new series, The Last Frontier, which is all about the CIA concocting absurd, ridiculous schemes and incidents here in within the boundaries of the United States to cover up so much of what else they got going on. And right on time that's the other thing I meant to think. I wrote a note about the right on time with Erica Edwards' work, The Other Side of Terror, and how Black women are used to promote U.S. empire. The head of this whole the maniacal CIA head chief who's doing all of this is Alfre Woodard's character, is a Black woman. So it's a
Of course.
yeah. It's like, and she's got all these, you know, white men and women running around playing police superhero trying to stop Alfre Woodard. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's perfect. Life imitating art.
You can't make this stuff up. There'll be a you know, a movie or a series about this that's bound to happen
or they'll
eventually.
work the storyline into one of these existing series, right?
Right.
They'll
Right.
you
What
know.
was the one, oh, 24. Do you remember
Mhm.
24?
I
When
do.
they
I
were
mean,
like
I read more
escaping?
about it than I actually watched. Yeah, with
I
Kiefer
used to
Sutherland. Yeah.
I used to actually, I, you know, before I just stopped realize that I just couldn't enjoy any of these things. Like I used to watch that a lot, and there was always some crazy thing happening, and he had, you know, it followed him for the full day, and within that
Mhm.
day, whatever problem was going on, he solved it. He stopped the attack, or stopped like the larger attack after the smaller one happened, and figured out who was behind it and got those people in custody. It was a wild, that was a wild.
One of the things I remember reading about that show, interestingly, was that everything you're describing that he apparently did, he did clearly while driving Ford trucks. I do
Yes,
remember that Ford
that
had
is, you know what? That is
the deal
true.
with them, and he was always in his Ford saying,
That is true. That is true.
"Oh my goodness."
Well, it was a big, I remember they had released like their new version, and it was like this big, I feel like during like a halftime show or something. I want to say that the way 24 worked, um, it like split the season in half, and like the second half resumed after like the football. It was like the next episode was coming on after the football game, and it was this whole big thing because, you know, that's what we do.
Listen, everybody, I hear you in the crowd calling for it. The Mama's Biscuits docuseries. And I just don't know that given what happened with the Prince series and Netflix, I just feel like it would be too real for any outlet to let out there. So you don't so Silberg, there's no immediate threat to your Silberg school of media avoidance. But it would actually be dope. I really do think it would be dope. But it would be a lot of I don't know. It could only get made if people were willing to I don't know. I don't know. But it would be dope. It would be dope and scandalous. There's like major scandals in it. Like elite level primetime drama series, soap opera, telenovela scandals.
Listen. Listen. All right. So we just got word that on a plane, and so obviously is not going to be able to join us since he's
that would be a little difficult. That would be a little difficult. Yeah, yeah.
Monty and Cloud, you can ignore my note. We've got confirmation, so we just go. We're gonna wing it. And
although I feel like with such an important man, they should have him with one of them sat phones or whatever that I see in movies. He should be able to be like on some satellite link up where we could get him live from the flight. But you know what I mean. But it's understandable. Listen, I feel like what
schedules
airline?
Happen, man. Schedules happen. I up until yesterday at like 9 a.m. I thought I was going to be home while we were doing this, and we're currently in Massachusetts. So, this like schedules shift and like stuff happens. So, all good. We'll figure it out.
Oh, somebody asked about the Panama Canal. China about to get it, right?
That's the word. That's the big fight.
And yeah, China about to get it. Look, I don't, like to overstep boundaries of identity and political knowledge, but from my humble opinion, this is just more to the country has never been for the people. It wasn't invented for the people. It has never been used to benefit the people. Nope. And that canal is all that they cared about. So, I just had to, yeah, go ahead.
No, well, I was just thinking there's so much stuff happening in that part of the world. And when they built the Panama Canal, that was a big. So my family being from Jamaica, we had family that went to help build the Panama Canal, right?
I bet you did.
And then we also had family. Like I have family apparently still in Panama somewhere that we've lost track of. I apparently have a ton of family.
I bet I know where they are.
I have a ton of family in Cuba because when the Jamaicans that were in Cuba at the time that Castro made the decision about what the path for the country was going to be, my great grandmother's brothers, two or three of her brothers were in Cuba when this was happening. And they had to decide if they were going to leave Cuba with nothing and go back to Jamaica, or if they were going to stay in Cuba and maintain all that they had built for themselves at the time. And until the day my great grandmother died, she hated Castro because she blamed him for her brothers not coming back to Jamaica.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. But I know where your family is in Panama.
Okay. Yeah.
They're in Cologne. It's not a mystery. Panama is it's to me it's like the blackest Latin American country, and yet at the same time among the most segregated. It feels like it's equally or as segregated as any. And
Um,
Cologne is where most of the African, Black, Jamaican descended folks ended up and are kept. And it comes with all the same stereotyping and treatment and so on and so forth. No, I don't know, Leah. I'm just talking a little bit of trash. I'm not saying more than Cuba at all or anything. I'm just saying it's just it's a feeling sometimes. And I've only been to Cuba once, so I don't pretend to. But I did go to what you call it. Um, Now I'm drawing a blank. Not Havana, but the southern part where it was all Black. No, I just went blank. Anyway, but yeah, and yeah, it's yeah. Dr. Ball speaks like he married into a Panamanian family, exactly. And so they're either so Renee, they're either in Darien or Cologne, and
okay.
and you know, whenever you feel like doing.
Yeah, I have to.
We take
There's so much.
Saturdays with Renee to
Yeah,
Panama. We'll
we're
start
gonna have to
there.
figure that. There's so much. So my family is so big on both sides that it's almost impossible to like figure everything out. So we were able, before my father's father passed away, we were able to backtrack um, his side of the family to his grandparents. So that would be like my third great grandfather, something like that, was one of three brothers. And between the three of them, they had like 40 something kids.
Wow.
And so right, right. So that right, right. So that's just one side, like that's just one side of the family, right? And so there's just, like my great grandmother, I think, was like one of six. And so that there's it's a lot. It's a lot of folks that I don't really know how to track down. But I've been I finally gave in and started listening to Black Marxism, which I'd started to listen to a while back, but it felt too heavy and like I had to read it. So then I stopped listening to it. Shout out to JP who gave me his copy because he had the second edition and the third edition. So he gave me his second edition. And shout out to Intume who sold me out because he was supposed to be reading it with me, and then that didn't happen. I know. Look, calling folks out. Like you don't have 80,000 things happening and a little person that he's responsible for. But anywho,
and my hip hop episode with him dropped the other day on his Patreon. Very
right,
excited about that.
So
check that out, folks.
So he talks a lot about Jamaica and the Maroons. And we think also there's a possibility that we might be related in some way to the Maroons in Cockpit Country. So there's there's so much, so it's a lot to try and follow all these different lines of family. But listening to that book gave me a clue of something that I can try to do to try and see if I can track my mother's side, because we know that I think my third or fourth great grandfather was a twin who was a freed slave who they both married Scottish sisters. There's a whole line of stuff. So we'll see.
I would, if anybody knows of this, if there's any documentation of it having ever taken place or in variations of it, I would still love to see a nice, strong debate or discussion between Black Marxists and those who defend or adhere to Cedric Robinson's Black Marxism. And there's some, I think, because obviously Robinson's work is tremendous. I am also aware of some very interesting criticisms from Black Marxists, Black communists. And but I've never seen you know, so for instance, Irvin had Lorenzo K. Irvin had a word or two to say about it, although I know he's not a Black Marxist. And August Nimps has, I think, written a word or two in passing or in short form. But yeah, I Dr. Sundiata for the Black Marxist camp. I would just like to see, and I'm not sure that it hasn't taken place, like the debate in either in print or in person, but I would love to see it. I think, you know, I think it would be, and I think it would be of enormous value to the broad Black radical community.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot, and it's hard. It's very very hard to track the history. You know,
Please send links. Sorry, Renee.
yeah,
Sorry.
please do, please do. And the information is scattered, and I'd probably have to go back to Jamaica to try and find like any true records. But according to Cedric Robinson, there is a database in the UK that was started because of the revolutions on the island and the amount of slaves. That's how they tracked like who went to trial, who was, you know, sent to prison, who was, you know, killed, like all, like there's a whole set of information. And because my family is of such that I just wouldn't be surprised if we were in that list somewhere. I feel like it's somewhere that I have to start. Maybe I have to go there and start, you know, start looking in that space. But I also discovered in all my searching that my grandfather was part of the uprisings in Florida when the Jamaicans burned down the sugar plantations in support of the American workers, quote unquote American workers, right? And so there's a lot of history there.
I just want to re-raise. This is sort of my point, that there's a lot of shadow boxing between the Black Marxists and the Black Marxism camps, and but I've yeah, but I and I don't mean like, I'm not even like on some let's encourage scandalousness. I just think that the but it does frustrate me, because yeah, this shadow boxing goes on a lot, and I would love to see the actual face, to, you know, the face off. So
So I'm unfamiliar with this battle, and I'm on part
the
three
short of
of
it
the book.
is,
I'm on the part 3 of the book, and my understanding
yeah,
of the book was it wasn't really an attempt to. It was more just to provide information, not really to present like one. Am I wrong? One camp or the
well,
other?
it's
Like
often it's often the oversimplification is, it's often promoted as Cedric Robinson's Black Marxism is really saying Black people don't need Marxism. Black people have their own radical traditions that are separate, distinct, and perfectly capable of providing the solutions. And the, again, overly simplified criticism is that he doesn't deal with or engage with the work of actual Black Marxists. So his criticism is, from their perspective, falls short in terms of what it does or doesn't say about Marxism and how Marxist analysis was taken up by Black revolutionaries around the world. So again, I'm not meaning to disrespect either of the sides, and I'm just acknowledging that the sides do exist. And one of the reasons, for instance, one of the reasons why I know is just over for just hosting media for so long. If I hosted a conversation that focused on Cedric Robinson's work, in my mind, I don't always catch all of the disagreements, and in my mind, I'm always looking for and finding the synthesis. and some of it is also above my head, and some of it is just my own insufficient study. But when I would host these discussions, people from other camps would contact me. So for years, I've been actually trying to get people, back when we were doing radio, I was trying to do versions of this, and not a lot of people want to do anything publicly. They don't want to, and for some good reasons, and some I think that are not good reasons, they don't want to do it. But that's how I was introduced and have been introduced over the years. People, even probably within the last year or so, reaching out to say, well, you talked about this, but you didn't include this. And so that's really how I've been kept in the so-called loop, to the extent that there is one.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
mean, it sounds, but I gotta say, I'm learning.
Oh,
I'm learning a lot from this book. Like
no doubt.
it's amazing. I am learning a lot from this book, and I've been putting off, reading it and putting off like all the things, and I'm glad I decided to do that. I like how Jared, like we just leaving me out of the equation. Like, is that what I'm seeing? Like, what just
No,
happened?
first of all, he's just rushing in the chat. It's first of all, there is none. So obviously, if I get invited somewhere, it's understood that you're going to be in around at minimum. That's how I would take it. And yeah, this is what, shout out to Two Black, appreciate you. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like August Nimps, I think had so like this is how it is for me. Like when I'm talking, I admit sometimes when I'm talking to the person, like if I'm talking to Josh Myers about Cedric Robinson, I'm like, yeah, word, yeah. And then when I hear August Nimps criticism, I'm like, oh wow, word, yeah. I'm like, I get it. But I'm just not the one to be uh I've never gone into those discussions prepared enough to engage the other side of the argument. So
Yeah. Only because this is the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
oh wow, Jared's united, Renee's whitelisted and mixed listed. Damn. Oh my goodness.
That was funny.
Hey, what can I do? But I can't do anything other than play the traditional role of the mulatto and sell out the black.
Oh,
Right? What else can I do? It's programmed into my DNA. It's not my fault.
That was hysterical. But I also shout out to Chichi Matcha, and you're gonna have to add this book to your list, so that you can also be thoroughly like, holy shit, when you read it, and then we can bring Chitty Matcha back to do a follow-up show, because it is her choice that I read it. Palo Alto by Harris. Last name is Harris. I'm blanking on the first name. Which breaks down the history of capitalism via the persons, companies, and just the whole thing. Stanford, like, it is wild. It is a wild.
Palo Alto by Malcolm Harris, A History of California Capitalism and the World. All right.
So I also learned it was, and in fact,
Kamala Harris.
In fact, it was listening to that book that after I was done, I was like, you know what? I can listen to Black Marxism after what I just listened to. I can listen to Black Marxism. So I went back and started it again.
Look, again, I'm of the mind that we need all of it, and I do often read when there's not something that is at least an uncomfortable contradiction, because would have to be contradictions of some kind, but at least not an uncomfortable one. I like to, in my head, create this synthesis. So yeah, I'm down for it. I hope we can find a way to have some enhanced discussions
Listen,
and all of it.
I feel like you will be similarly the way you were after you listen to Fort Bragg Cartel.
Yo, and we
Which we
never even
still
did anything
haven't.
with
I
that.
know we still have to do that, and Jared J Dub, that's a shout to you because we had been debating about if we were going to try and do something together on it, because that also is like just completely mind blowing. And so that's how I felt listening to Palo Alto.
Wow.
Like that same level of wait,
Okay.
like
Wait,
what?
what?
Like wait a minute, wait, like they're all connected. Like there is no part of this whole sphere of people in technology and IT and AI and social media and all of these online spaces that have just thoroughly crept in to also kill humanity via capitalism. They're all connected to Palo Alto. Every single one of them. It's the wildest. I was like, what is happening right
Oh
now?
my God. Wait. So we need a political versus like a WWE political versus. The AAPRP would debate the Uhuru House, Adolf Reed versus Kamal, and who would debate the ear doctor? Who would be versus the ear doctor? Oh, this is that Ready 1111 is on it. That's what we need right there.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I would straight the first two I would actually really like to see. I would love to see in Uhuru style AAPRP, and Kamal versus Adolf Reed would be priceless.
Ricky said no, thank you. Oh,
Priceless. Oh my God,
oh,
that would be great. Ear
Josh,
doctor versus Killer Mike. Now there you go.
that's not happening. Please, please.
That's funny.
So I don't know.
Ear doctor versus Diallo. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
Lord.
No, I'm still speaking of, I know Ajabu was supposed to be here. I'm still waiting for that. The Diallo versus Bap was hilarious.
Listen, the minute Ajamu was like African,
He said, what did he say? He's he said insufficient study, African, something like that. He said something.
I was like, whoop, I'm done.
But Diallo is that was compelling TV. That was
Yeah, it was serious stuff. It was serious stuff. Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. But all right, I'm down with it. The Palo Alto book.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think you should. I think we should do it. I think we should do it because it's like it's just a lot of information. It's a lot of information, and a lot of it. I was surprised. I was surprised to learn about. Not, Let me. I have to stop using that word because I'm never surprised to learn that capitalism is working, right? So it's not really. It's not surprise. It's more. I don't even know. I don't even know what the word really is because there was an eye opening of wow. So this is really what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like this is how this really happened. This is like that Stanford when they initiated and started Stanford, the intention was for it to be a free college to teach like regular like HVAC jobs. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Like a
it was
vocational
a
type joint?
vocational school,
Wow.
right? That they stole all this land and you can never sell it. from Stanford. Exactly. Like like just stuff that it was beyond my comprehension to even put the two things together and get some understanding of how truly, truly conniving and gross these people are. Like it is a wild ride. Highly, highly recommend. Shout out Chitty Matcha. Like I would have never even contemplated it had it not been brought up. And Chitty Matcha reminded me during something like don't forget Palo Alto, and I went in and got it like then, and it is a wild one, y'all. It's a wild one. It's a wild one.
Uh, the last thing that I remember that I heard about Stanford was in Hillary Allen's book about fintech and Peter Thiel's history at Stanford.
Which
Where
all of that is broken down in the book.
I'm sure it would have to be, but it is yeah. So I'm just thinking about now I'm stuck on the shift that because she didn't talk about the whole vocational foundation or origins of the university. So it's always from my vantage point been this you know
Right.
producer of the
What
ruling
we
elite.
know of it now, right.
Yeah.
Which is not how it started and was not the intention. And it's just, y'all, it's wild. It's wild. But Yippa put it well. This is right. I was shocked, but not surprised. That's a great way to put it.
That's probably the better way of putting it. But yeah, and I still think South Park gave as good an analysis of Peter Thiel recently as any, and I look forward to reading more or seeing more of their continued, because this whole Antichrist thing and is in his private lectures and whatnot on the Antichrist and all of that is
I feel like he is the Antichrist. So, we might as well talk about it.
I mean, the only thing, I mean, fortunately for the rest of us, he's only slowed at this point by not having any kind of personality that's publicly consumable. I think if he had more of a presence that wasn't revealing of his true character, he might get away with even more.
J-Dub says, have
Yeah.
you considered that you might be the Antichrist? I had not considered it, but I'm sure there are people who think that.
It might be you.
It could be me. It could be me. Oh man, listen. The other book that I recently listened to, and yes, y'all, I listen to a lot of books. The audiobook has changed my world, just so we are clear. Is a book called the name just went right out of my head as I started talking. Exposed is the name of the book. And it is written by a woman who was exposed to a virus while she was well, that's good to know, dear. While she was working at Pfizer. And it talks through her whole story of working at Pfizer, how she got exposed, this battle that she ended up undertaking with Pfizer to get them to provide the information that her doctors needed in order to figure out what she was exposed to so that they could treat what she was dealing with. And it took like a decade for this battle to finally get cleared. And she ended up winning her lawsuit against Pfizer. And I think it's the only, she might be the only person who has successfully fought Pfizer and won And her suit, she ended up getting like 1.3 mil in change. And they had to pay her attorney's fees separately. And it was a jury trial in the end. And but the real reason she's telling this story is because people really don't have any idea of like when you're a chemist, right? And you're working at Pfizer and you're trying to like why Pfizer is like creating viruses is also a question that I have, like a deep rooted question that I have. But there is no protection for the workers at Pfizer. So you're working at Pfizer, you're in a lab room, and like you're exposed to the things that like are open in the lab room while you're working and like typing on a computer. And there was a whole story with like this air filter that kept going bad because it was like infected and stuff kept growing in it. And they finally decided that they were just going to switch the output so that the air filter like spewed out into the community. And this is the Pfizer in Connecticut. And this is like the story is crazy. The story is crazy. And but it was very, very interesting. And I listened to an interview that she did with the person who wrote the foreword, Ralph Nader.
Ralph Nader. Yeah.
And apparently she's having like a really like there's this big the book is only like a month old, and there's this big struggle because no one wants to talk about what's happening at Pfizer, which I think probably people should be talking about. And this like very like intense level of secretive, like, you know, secret, like the secrecy within the walls of Pfizer, to where the reason they refused to release the information was because they claimed that it was, you know, what is it when you have something and you what? Oh, it was a trade. My husband's helping me in the background. It was a trade secret. That's what it was. So the reason they would not release the information is because it was a trade secret and they didn't
proprietary.
Yes, proprietary. So can you imagine like your worker is dying from this thing that she was exposed to, and you refuse to release the information that the doctors need in order to try and figure out how to treat this now disease that she has. And it's only because she didn't fight, you know, she kept searching for people, and she wouldn't, like, no one would help her because no one wanted to take on Pfizer. The story is crazy, y'all.
No, it makes perfect sense, especially after, you know, what was it, 10, 15 years ago when what was it, when Michael Moore's movie about the healthcare industry came out, and he was talking about how the corporations will take out insurance policies on their employees, so that while they're denying healthcare to those employees, the death of those employees benefits sicko. That's right, Claudia. Thank you. You know, the death of the employee benefits financially the employer who refused to help get the initial care that they needed, and then took out the insurance. So this makes perfect sense. It's like, no, we're gonna let you biohazard yourself to death and not help you. And they, I bet, took out an insurance policy on that employee and said, and as you die, we'll go ahead and collect a couple dollars on your way out. Thank you very much. As you pass go into the afterlife, we will collect the 200 for you.
Yeah, it's so wild. So I also recommend that. But, you know, go into it knowing that you are going to be thoroughly freaked out by the information that is provided in the book. It's also a rough listen. And just, you know, like that baseline understanding of how much, you know, all of these things that are wrapped around in profitability, and you know, like there's literally no care at all. There's no care at all for like regular people, right? Like when Pfizer's attorneys came for her, there was this whole argument about whether or not what she was doing was for the public health, and or if it was really just about her, because it's not whistleblowing if it doesn't have anything to do with public health. And she's basically like, but whatever I'm exposed to, like I leave the building and I bring it, like I bring it out into the world. Like I bring it out to the community and to my neighbors and to my family. Like, you know, whatever it is, it's not just me who's impacted in the end, it's everyone that I come into contact with. So how could this not be beyond me? How could it not be a public health issue, a public concern? And then when you think about this filter thing that they changed, and it was just spewing this air out into the community, right? And this is the same, she worked in the same Pfizer complex that blew up a few years ago, the one in Connecticut, where there was that massive fire. New London, I think is the name of the town. And this is all the people who were all mad, like corrupt, like the judges, it turned out like after the fact, they found out that the judge's husband was like in like court, like had some kind of corporate relationship with the attorneys that were representing Pfizer. Like there was so much wild stuff happening, and you know, people are not being made aware of the story. And I heard the interview, and I was like, this sounds like something I should be reading. And it's a wild, that's also a wild one though, y'all. That added to the list.
So speaking of the list, I know we are sans Ajamu, but there are things on your run sheet. Did you want to get to any of them?
We can. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's all current stuff, so we can just roll.
Is there anything in particular that you I saw.
Go ahead.
No, I just saw the one. I was just drawn to the one about
of course you were.
Joint, and
of course you are.
You know, because I happened to be looking up this morning. You know, much like our other fascist friends in Italy, Israel will not qualify for the 2026 World Cup unless they go through some really wildly unlikely tournament victories in the Nations League and somehow become, you know, able to beat teams that, I mean, you know, it's just not, this is not. So on the one hand, I was glad that they kept losing and could not qualify. But on the other hand, I kind of wanted them to qualify because of the very public contradiction and conflict that I think that would continue to encourage and generate. So as your story shows here from Politico, Haiti qualified for the World Cup, but the Trump administration says fans aren't welcome. The Caribbean nation joins Iran as World Cup competitors covered by the travel ban. So again, just humbly from my 2 cents, this is yet another reason why none of us should be supporting any of this. And that, you know, even if you have the opportunity to go to any of these games, none of us should be. But just quickly here, the Trump administration will not grant any special exceptions for Haitian soccer fans hoping to travel to the U.S. to follow their team at next year's FIFA World Cup, according to the State Department. And so now I don't know exactly how things work at every level, but when you look at the pricing for World Cup tickets, even to get into the lotteries to see, because you can't just automatically pick a game to go see. So I don't know how they do it for people traveling from a nation to see their nation, but there's so many contradictions here. The amount of Haitians, never mind anybody else, or you know, that could actually afford these tickets, never mind the flights and the hotels, but just the tickets to the games would have to be pretty small. The encouraged class divisions, even if you want to support your team, are pretty severe. And then of course you are ultimately at this point, because the US is one of 3 host nations, going to be supporting, unless you're going to see a team in Mexico or Canada, which would be the only way that I would even consider going to see one of these games in person. You're going to end up supporting a US economy and a political environment that doesn't, again, that has said it's going to use these venues as ICE surveillance locations. So it's like, if you go in spite of that, it's to me not a protest. And especially once you get there, there are going to be prescriptions on what kinds of signage or flags you're allowed to bring. So you're not going to, so even using it to create some sort of spectacle is less so anyway, that's my quick 2 cents on the story.
And what was crazy is, so I was doing my like mental rundown of like, what are the things that I haven't been able to find any information on lately. And Haiti is always on the list because, of course, we live in a place where they're never going to give us any real information. And so when I came across that, I picked that article because it stood out. When I was like, I wonder if Jared.
Well, I've been paying attention, and then of course, in terms of U.S. commercial media, the more somewhat recent, more prominent discussion of Haitian politics at all was carried on by Killer Mike, Bill Maher, and Donna Brazile. So I mean, it's and in that, and I have to say, in that moment, Killer Mike came off like a radical, which is saying everything about
everything. So real quick, Klaus says, did y'all see me yelling at Infantino a couple of months ago? I know I surely did. I don't know if you did.
She yelling at him.
She caught him on the street.
Oh, I did not see that.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to. If I can find it, we can show it.
So what was said? Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to scroll the thing.
But
what was? So what were the words used?
Listen, I always wondered what she was straightening him out about this whole nonsense with Israel, and why are we allowing Israel to participate with their genocidal asses? And so she went hard.
But that's why I love that, and that's why I wanted them to qualify,
right?
Because he's getting a like he's getting almost like a pass. Like, I know he was probably quietly rooting that they would lose and not qualify, just to help him avoid more of a conflict. But so that's very dope.
Yep.
And I haven't had many.
Real quick. So Ricky said, "Hey Jab, have us back on with the football crew to talk about it." So there you go. Although I know that was
ain't no football crew no more. So that's a whole ain't no football crew no more. So I'm the football crew at this point. So
well, I mean, so you could feasibly, given the topic. I mean, I don't do soccer, so I can't. You're gonna have to do this one without me. But you could have Cloud back on.
Anytime, look, that's right. No problem at all. So we could do it here. We could do it on my show. It doesn't matter. I have no problem.
I'm not a football person. Sorry, y'all. Sorry.
But in terms of the politics, it would take Renee, if you put in just a week's worth of prep. And did one of your world-class spreadsheets, you would be you would be caught up in no time, and then whatever was, the rest of us could help fill in the few remaining gaps. The game, understanding the game as it's played, is not relevant, I think, to any of these discussions. So it's not like you would have to be an expert in the politics of it. The political economy of it is in many ways, unfortunately, similar. And easily picked up with a little
shout
bit
out to Monty. She just that's the clip of Cloud.
Oh, word. Oh, word. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Word up. Word up. Let's go. Let's go. Duh, 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 duh.
Israel has a little tough. Well, and the U.S. as well.
And the U.S. as well.
Move the gangs. They're responsible. They're responsible for genocide. You have a human rights division, a human rights office.
They take care of it.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. You're just as responsible for the genocide, Infantino.
Just leave.
Move the gangs! 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 Move the gangs!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Damn. You know what? Israel's even more whack than we thought. Like Israel, y'all can't even qualify and extend this. Whack ass Israel can't even all this genocide and theft and all this money, and you can't even put a team that's going to get on the goddamn World Cup field so that we can extend this. Good job, Claudia. That was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope. We should have like another 6 months of that, of him struggling with that. What did he say to her? What did he say? What did he say? Did we have a team for that?
We have a team for that.
I don't know. and where's him? Because remember when he did that whole speech, we were having fun with that before when he was today I am gay. Today I am a Muslim. Today I am. Man, get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here.
Always with their bullshit.
Yeah, I like that. You were Claudia that time.
There you go.
Yeah, we needed, man. Israel, man. Come on, man. I should have won some games, man. I should have been rooting for them. And then the way Claudia said it was slick. She said we wanted, Israel keep them out of game, and the U.S. too. By the way, the U.S. too.
Let's not forget. Let's not forget living in the belly of the beast.
So the only other good thing is that potentially is that I'm really hoping. I don't know. I don't think we've seen the. I don't think the draws. They couldn't have set the draws yet for the brackets. But I'm hoping that the U.S. will draw a bracket that they cannot get out of, and it would be wonderful to see one of the rare times where the host nation does not make it out of doesn't make it to the knockout stages. That would be fantastic. Since the U.S. is automatically in the tournament this year, I'm hoping that they will get themselves knocked out.
Is that how it works? It's automatic if you're the host.
Yeah, when you host it, you automatically qualify. And recently, the U.S. has needed that because a tournament ago they didn't make it. They couldn't even qualify out of a region that is relatively weak. So they're better now, but that's what I'm afraid of, that they'll get a weak bracket that will, but you never know, man. We might see, it would be just great if we could see some, some heroics from other teams. Maybe they could play, or, they could, to motivate themselves, they could play videos of Christian Pulisic doing his pro Donald Trump dance after he scored a goal, and as he walks around with his, this is the U.S. superstar who's a registered Republican and does Trump dances when he scores. Like I would just love to see them lose. That's it. We need the giant killers to come out and knock them off. So anyway,
Paul,
Renee,
you were late. Ajamu's on a flight, and there was some miscommunication about scheduling. We will be rescheduling that conversation. So that's for those of you who were also late and couldn't figure out what happened.
Nah, we just tell them the truth. We got Paul with the clickbait thumbnail. Put Ajamu's name up there and was like, got him. Got him. We talking soccer. Oh man. All right.
I mean, I guess since we're talking about Israel, we can talk about this uniting for peace vote, because this is something that I very much have questions and an interest in, and not because I have any faith at all in any of these international bodies, but because as I've been watching what's happening and watching more people, more Palestinians speak about what's happening, it has been made very clear that we do not need to have faith in any of these international bodies, but we do need to allow for any fight on any plane in any space to happen, because the fight is necessary. You got to fight in all corners. And so, so there's that. So I don't know if you all want to, I'm sorry, I've moved from the page. So this uniting for peace is something that there's a group, Lifeline for Palestine, and this has been their focus. And the overarching thing here is that the General Assembly of the UN has the ability to do a vote on this uniting for peace, which would demand that all of the countries who are willing support Palestine against this terror, the terror that's happening, the genocide, the apartheid, the occupation. But no country that has been involved in Israel's acts are allowed to participate. So it would block the US, the UK, Canada, it would block all of those people from being able to participate in the process. And it needs a 60% vote in the UN. And my understanding is since this Uniting for Peace has existed, it's been invoked, I think something like 12 or 13 times, but it is in part for as much as South Africa still has its own issues, part of the reason that the apartheid ended is because the UN voted for this Uniting for Peace thing. So it's something that needs, I think that people, it's worth looking into and trying to get a further understanding for. It's what Lifeline for Palestine does. Ricky, I'm going to go check the email right now, because the UN did an initial vote on this and gave Israel 1 year before they were going to resume. And when the Colombian president at the UN made his speech about having this coalition of countries to go and support Palestine, it was because he was in part trying to enact this vote on uniting for peace. And that is why they revoked his visa and sent him out of the country. And that is also why they so quickly within the Security Council moved towards this vote to support this supposed, this new occupation plan that Trump wrote, in order to, have a new set of people alongside Israel occupy Palestine. But it's an interesting one.
No doubt. I just got asked a question. When you read the Palo Alto book, does the name La Jolla come up? Does that mean anything to you? La Jolla, Jolla. I'm not sure what I'm asking.
I'm not sure. Remember, I listened to it, so that sounds familiar. Maybe Chidiomacha knows.
Let me see if I get clarity from the text. Sorry,
but that does sound familiar for some reason. Mm-hmm. So Ricky says, hopefully Aljamain can come on a later date and discuss the project, the fallacy of human rights and the importance of people-centered human rights. And I agree. there's, La Jolla. Okay. It's a city.
Oh, La Jolla. Okay, my bad. My bad. That's how you really? My bad. Okay. The city
Okay.
or town. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far that is from Palo Alto, or if it's. I just know that Palo Alto has two different parts. There's an East Palo Alto that's poor, and then there's the rest of Palo Alto, and there's this whole thing about the public schools and how they manipulated that whole thing. Y'all don't get me started. It's so wild. It's so, it's so wild. Don't send me back down that path. It's wild.
Mm,
It's wild stuff.
where north of San Diego, where UC San Diego is. Okay. So I'm not sure why I was asked about that, but I will check back.
All right, so we'll put that on the list, because also, Ajamu, if you want to pull it up, one of his latest pieces that I hope we'd be able to talk to him about was this UN vote in the Security Council.
Mm-hmm.
And what, again, y'all, it's so difficult to have any reasonable expectation from any of these bodies, but they're the bodies that exist, right? And so I don't really know another path to take with this other than to recognize that they are utterly useless, and that there is nothing that is aligned with the UN that is not also aligned with imperialism, because all it takes is one of these imperialist nations to say no to something, and it doesn't happen. And it's not just that, as we've learned with this last vote, it's not just that the US has veto power. It is that the other countries who also have veto power, do not use it when there is an opportunity and a reason to use it, right? So when you have opportunities such as, Russia and China could have said no and vetoed Trump's plan on the Security Council, and they chose instead to not vote, right? So just saying, right? Like, US is not the only problem. There is a larger issue. There's a larger issue at hand here, because even the other countries that have the same level of veto power and authority are unwilling to do that in the face of the US. Like, the US had no problem every single time raising a hand and allowing for the genocide to continue, for allowing for the occupation to attempt to continue. Like, it had no problem, right? And at the point in which there very much could have been a veto, the two countries that spoke out against the plan, apparently privately, opted to not do so, and to not use their veto power where they could have. So,
Well, if I'm following correctly, because I have not read this, the UN is playing its traditional role of not defending the colonized against further encroachment, despite all of the condemnation and the claims, the calls for peace that you were just showing us from their original statement.
so the previous statement is for the General Assembly of the UN,
Right, from
and that is
1950.
and that vote for peace is something that the General Assembly can do, that would basically counter this thing that the Security Council just did. So this resolution that the Security Council voted on to support Trump's plan, that, can we just be clear, was written voted on and decided on with no input from the Palestinian people, right? And so at the point when it could, they rushed this through the Security Council, I think it's, and y'all forgive me because I'm trying to remember how many countries. I think it's 5 countries that have veto power. And both Russia and China opted to abstain rather than veto. And so, this is where you have this issue where the US has no problem at all putting a veto forward and being the only veto in the vote to prevent something from happening. And when it's time for these other countries who have the opportunity and the ability to veto to do so, they abstain instead, even though there seems to have been, I think there was like a second, like there was like a some kind of additional statement that was written up, I think, by China, but they withdrew it. And I mean, in the end, a veto would have stopped it. And instead, there was no veto and there was an abstain. So, right. So, so Claudia said, this is where the role of the comprador class is outsized the Palestinian Authority because China and Russia can say it has Palestinian backing. I mean, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just, I'm sick of genocide. And I say that as someone who fully understands that I'm not at all there impacted at all by what's happening. My family's not in Palestine. I'm not from Palestine, but I just don't know how I feel like it's just, we're just watching it in full screen 4K over 5G. And so I'm sure there's more to be said, more diving in. It's part of why I was excited for Ajman, and we'll reschedule. We'll have him come back so we can have this conversation. And listen, Arlene, you could be right. I don't think Arlene Chambers says, I don't think that would have stopped it. There's a deeper dive to it. Maybe, look, true, but I just feel like at the least, if someone tries to veto, right? Like the US had no problem. They sent that lady in there, and every single time they wanted to vote to stop what was happening, the US put its hand up and vetoed it. Period. Right? And so, and they used that as a reason to do nothing. And so if at the least, someone attempted to veto it and it didn't stop it, to me, that's at least more evidence that the UN, maybe people can see that the UN is useless. And it's perfectly willing to stop whatever thing is happening if the US says to stop it, but unwilling to do the same if another country that supposedly has the same level of veto power says no. Right? I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on the General Assembly if they decide to do this vote for peace thing. I don't know if that's going to serve any purpose either, but I watched multiple videos with Palestinians saying, listen, none of it may work, but you got to fight every battle. So we're going to go with that. Leah's asking, have you ever thought of having Laith Maroof on? I don't know if I'm just blanking on the name or what.
I don't know Laith, so I couldn't have helped with that.
So, but Leah, if you send me the information, in fact, I asked you last week. Leah probably missed it. Send me an email, Leah, because I need an email address for you. So I'm putting it in the chat to you to send me an email. Because I need to ask you something. Not in the chat. um. So what else is on that run sheet, Jared?
Oh, I mean, you got Venezuela, Guinea-Bissau, Lauren McCluskey, U.S. Open drama, which I've been paying attention to. Coco, shout out to Coco Golf. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, or maybe not. Maybe not.
That
Looks
might be
like
an older one because that was, remember the white lady snapped at the end of a match. I don't even remember who she was yelling at, and she called her uneducated, and there's a whole. This was a few months ago.
Yeah, there's well, so I guess it wasn't the U.S. Open that I'm thinking of. There's a more recent event incident with Coco Golf, and this white lady being upset that Golf beat her and got Player of the Year or something like that. Was saying
another one.
Yeah, absolutely. But this one here, U.S. Open foes Taylor Townsend and Jelena Ostapenko get into a tense back and forth after a match, and I saw this one too, and it was interesting because the white woman who is from, I think didn't we talk about this here somewhere? She's saying she's not a racist. She was upset at the way something about warm-ups. I thought it wasn't even about the gameplay, right? But I forgot what country she's from. Some small European country, and she was acting, and she was putting it as though she was up against this American powerhouse with all the support of the fans and everything, and this poor, and it was like, how could I be racist when I'm up against this American powerhouse and I'm just this small European, something like that. I don't see the name of the country mentioned. The caucasity of it, yeah, is essentially what it was. It was just the caucasity of it.
And yes, Latvia.
Thank you. So it's like we can't, I can't be racist because I'm Latvian. Like, I'm pretty sure that doesn't stop you.
Right. So in the chat, we'll back up just for a second. So
sure. Hold up, Renee. I think you broke up there for a second, but I know you mean to bring this up.
Did it just okay?
I think you're back. I thought you broke up there for a second.
Oh, so this is the new work that's happening. So this is part of what Ajamu and the People-Centered Rights, what they're doing. So this is what's happening now, and part of what we were hoping also to have Ajamu come on and talk about. And so we'll drop all of these in the chat. I haven't had a chance to read the actual article.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I'll just the summary, the abstract or whatever. The West's fiction of human rights has been weaponized by neoliberals to rationalize naked imperialist interventions. But if human rights are to have any relevance for the oppressed, they must be decolonized and given meaning by the oppressed themselves. A people-centered human rights.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be, and I honestly don't know what's gonna do it, but there's gonna have to be some serious work done by regular people to force change, because we cannot rely on these bodies to do it. And so this is one of those things. So Klaus says she's part of the project. So that
I took it. We were both diving for the button.
So this just means, Cloud, you just volunteered to come on when Ajamu comes back and when we get it all squared away. Or, oh, look. She volunteered. She said it.
Wait, what?
If Ajamu can't come on, I can.
Boom.
So we'll get that. We'll work that out. We really were, Monty. We was fighting over the button. We were.
Oh, so okay. So the La Jolla point was a lot of military and Fed contracts go to La Jolla. That's why I was being asked if that came up in the Palo Alto book.
Gotcha. Okay, so no, because there are so many military contracts that are also going straight through Palo Alto, including there's a whole segment of the book that talked about the MK Ultra program and all, like, y'all, it's a lot.
That makes sense. That certainly makes sense. And then, it fits perfectly with the Fort Bragg book, because on the other end of all of that is a bunch of drugged up, murderous, traumatized white boys, overly trained in weapon and provided with weapons to form the bookend of the psychological media educational madness. It's a beautiful. We're in a beautiful situation, everybody.
We are, and then meanwhile, we are, as a country, blowing up people fishing.
Absolutely.
Because we're accusing them of being a part of a drug trade. And
then obviously, if you destroy the entire boat and everybody on it, that's evidence of the drugs that they were bringing.
Right.
So you don't have to find drugs. You don't have to arrest or try anybody, put anybody on trial. You just, if you obliterate everybody, then it's like a version of the Salem witch thing. If you tie women to cement and throw them in the water, if they drown, they're witches. So it's like,
and they're not there to say otherwise. So
I mean, how could they? They've drowned, confirming they're witches. So if you blow up and kill everybody, all they've done is confessed to bringing in fentanyl to destroy American citizens. So it's again, we're in a beautiful. It's a really wonderful. What kind of diplomacy is that? Gunboat. That's literally what they called it. Gunboat diplomacy.
Right. And then
take it back to its origins.
Release something. The guy saying, like, kill everybody or kill them all or whatever.
Hegseth, right? Didn't he say that?
Yes. Yeah. Kill everybody.
Yeah.
And so we're not even, and even in theory, if people want to, because there are definitely people who are like, well, they shouldn't be running drugs using the Fisher boats, which I can't even believe that people believe that this is what's fucking happening. But okay, let's even concede. Even if you concede the point that there is possibly drug running happening on these fishing boats, right? It is not stopping the drugs that the U.S. military is allowing to cross the border.
Again, Fort Bragg
part of their drug trade. Right? Like, it's ludicrous, this whole thing. It's ludicrous.
Look, this would be the perfect reveal. If we find out that the people actually pulling the triggers on those boats were themselves caught up in all that Fort Bragg type of stuff and bringing the dope in, because then you get to kill the innocent while as cover for your bringing the dope in. Because I mean, that's where, like, the again, pun intended, the bookends of these various books you've been talking about all fall into place, because the Fort Bragg book is depicting a situation where the most well-trained special forces in the United States are the drug traffickers.
Right.
So it's so the ones who aren't, maybe they are the ones literally up in the aircraft or whatever, flying the drone, whatever they're using to blow up these boats.
Could be.
But it's all fun and games for them. And if any of them were bringing in drugs on those little boats, they're being killed by their competition. It's the
right. So also let's there's an article from a news outlet in Trinidad and Tobago, and since we're talking about what's happening on the waters, I think we should point out that Trinidad quietly is allowing the U.S. government to use Maurice Bishop Airport, blasphemy, to
Oh, that's
use
perfect.
Maurice Bishop Airport to surveil the seas.
Oh, that's perfect. I cannot find the link,
Oh, it's
unfortunately, my
the
bad. But
no, it's okay. It's hold on, it's this Newsday one.
oh, there it is. Yep, yep, yep. But that's perfect. Oh, wow.
So there was a public request made from the US to Trinidad um and to Tobago, pardon me, to request usage of of the base for surveillance. And so um they're quietly trying to pretend like no, this is not the same thing, right? It's different. But she very, very clearly says that the US Marines are there. They're helping with the airport and they're improving service. I'm sorry, y'all, to laugh. I don't even understand. And so why? Like
Wow.
why?
And then you're the area the wait a minute. The US force in the region has grown to include the nuclear attack submarine USS Newport News, amphibious assault vessels, special forces command vessels, the 22nd US Marine Expeditionary Unit, and the aircraft carrier US Gerald R. Ford and its strike group. So there, all of this is going to Tobago. Is that
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
Grenada
So, and then there's a quote here by the Grenadian.
or the Southern?
Um,
I mean, just quickly. I'm sorry, Renee, but just quickly. This is an enormous force.
right,
Just a carrier and its strike group alone is like 10 ships.
right. And I
So
apologize, y'all. I was speaking too fast. Um, Ricky's correct. The request was made to the Grenadian Prime Minister, and it is the I believe the Trinidadian Prime Minister that is allowing them to use Tobago. In the end, like I this is why this is not my full strength of things, right? In the end, the US is using a space named after Maurice Bishop to surveil the waters and it is undoubtedly in part going to be part of people who are fishing being blown up by the US government. And so I cannot I cannot with these people. And this is always and then this lie, right? Like no. They're not they're not using it for that. They're helping, like it's just obscene. It is obscene.
so yeah, I mean it doesn't it's not specific to any one country per se because it's about the US controlling that entire region.
Right.
In which all these various allegedly sovereign nations happen to be. But it's so that's why we're seeing all these references to all these different countries and the reference to the Southern Caribbean uh, um, as a deployment area, which it would have to. I mean, it would have to be, and again, they're bringing an enormous force, uh, which is I mean, it's consistent, makes perfect sense and all of that, but it's just
Right.
wild and
Right.
then yeah, and you're right to point out that of course you have to get rid of Maurice Bishop and reduce him to a symbol on an airport uh so that you could continue this because obviously the man himself and the movement he represented would not have allowed any of this and nor would any similar effort in that region.
Right.
So
So we'll have to we had very briefly on when the week of action for Venezuela kicked off. We had some folks on from BAP. So we'll need to circle back so we can do a full, let's understand this whole thing. Let's talk about this zone of peace that BAP has been fighting and doing campaigns on for years now. We need to visit how useless CARICOM is. We need to visit all of these British colonies in the Caribbean that just allow this stuff to happen. So there's a lot there that needs to be talked about, actually. There's a whole lot there. So we can plan that. I'll send that email out. The last, because I don't even know where the time went. The last thing that I think I just want to point out real quick is what's happening in Guinea-Bissau. And I think I put the link in there also. Shout out to the African People's Revolutionary Party. I got it. For releasing this statement to give some information about what is happening in Guinea-Bissau. I don't know if you had time to read any of this before.
I didn't, but I can at least read some of it here if you want. The West African country of Guinea-Bissau held presidential and legislative elections on Sunday, the 23rd of November, 2025. Prior to Election Day, the illegally established Supreme Court disqualified the African Party of Independence of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, PAIGC, candidates by inventing the technicality that the PAIGC had not submitted its candidates before the due date. This illegal exclusion led the PAIGC to endorse the candidacy of Fernando Diaz da Costa, Social Renewal Party president, and backed by the Inclusive Patriot Alliance, Big Calabash, and the Terra coalition led by Domingos Simoes Pereira of the PAIGC. So we can put the link to the full statement in the show committee, in the show description, but the AAPRP is calling upon international institutions, regional bodies, progressive and peace-loving people to join the masses of people of Guinea-Bissau to demand the immediate release of Domingos Simoes Pereira and all citizens that have been illegally detained, that the military harm no one, that all military troops return to the barracks, that the electoral process be allowed to go forward with the official proclamation of the vote count and announcement of the winners of Sunday's elections.
Right. So shout out to APRP for the update. I actually went about sending that press release to all of my spaces, including my mother. Shout out, mommy, because she was like, I need to understand what's what's happening. So I sent her the press release. But you know, I feel like there's a lot, and I don't know. I can only assume, and I know what they say about assuming, but I can only assume that it is intentional that you have all of these things happening at the same time, right? Because how can you possibly, as a person, keep up with all of it, right? With all of these things happening at the same time. There's just so much. I feel like I'm looking in every direction, and in every direction there's a reason to be mad at capitalism, mad at imperialism. You see the proof of what's happening like right in front of you, and yet and still there are people who intentionally they just don't care to see it because they're on board with this, America first nonsense, which I don't even know how people could possibly believe that what is happening in all these places is beneficial for people here, but okay. But then you have people, because Esme asked us in the chat about people who only see the problems right now because Trump is behind it. And I literally had this argument with someone at Thanksgiving dinner because they were like they hate Trump, which, look, so be it, right? And I said to the person, listen, I'm not like, I'm not telling you like you should be on board, but like, you understand that a lot of this stuff has been happening for years, right? And so to be mad right now, to fail to match the current issues with things that have been policy practices for years, and to be seeking for life to just go back to quote unquote normal, is how you ended up where you are now. Is because every time we do this circle of bringing things back to normal, right? And so everything that this person brought up to me and said, but what about this? And I'd be like, you understand that that was a Clinton policy, right? You understand that was a Obama policy. You understand that that started because like so much is ongoing. And they were like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like, they didn't know that Obama started the at the border, separating the families and built like, they didn't know. And I was like, how do you not know? How do you not know? How do you
Other
not
than
know?
confessing that they don't watch enough of your own show, and shame on all of our family members for that. It's again, I think it's not difficult to identify why so few know, because so few are exposed to counter narratives, or for that, for in some ways, to narratives at all. Or people are encouraged to piece together a narrative for themselves out of disparate bits of information, and that are cobbled together to reach them some comfortable conclusion. But yeah, I'm in increasingly, I'm becoming impressed that we find anyone who would hear this and agree. That I think it's just so I'm like, because that was something I was going to raise if we had more time today, and maybe we could even do something, because I was kind of curious. I am kind of curious in general how folks in these spaces handle these genocidal holiday gatherings. I'm a little curious about it. I have.
We can do a lunchtime if you want this week.
I'd be down for that.
Let's do a lunchtime.
I'd be down for that. And, how did everybody? What's everybody's methods for gathering with family and dealing with politics?
So on the upside, so I will say, so because we don't travel, we haven't traveled for one of these holidays in a long time. So I cook, and we're at my house. And
yo, Renee said,
picture the table to Jared. Your answer was priceless. Jared wrote back and said if food was a spreadsheet.
I'm telling you, Renee sent a pictorial view, a food view of her spreadsheet work. That joint looked fire. I was like, wow.
And wow. So everyone can understand, I served our Turkey Day meal wearing my Israel is a settler colony sweatshirt. Right? And I watched in the morning a variety of things as I was prepping, from the National Day of Mourning that happens in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which again, I will shout out to folks. If you can get to Plymouth to be there in person, it is something that is unmatched as an experience. Highly recommend. Also listening to multiple things. And I refuse to pretend like I don't know what's happening. Right. And holidays have become very, very hard, because everything's become hard because I can't turn it off. Like I can't turn off my understanding of what is happening in the world. And so, there's no, yeah, it's hot as hell in the kitchen with the sweatshirt on cooking. It is. It wasn't really the best laid plan on my part, but it happened. And so, in the end, like we ended up actually having some really good conversations. We talked, we don't turn it off, but it's also because it's not, I'm not there with a full house of family. It's mostly friends and people that, my friend's wife is a liberal, but she's trying to learn. So I will give that credit. But like if my mother was in town, the conversation wouldn't have been any different because that's my mother, so it just depends. But it is a rough space. It's rough to be, constantly at ends with understanding what's happening in the world, but still trying to live. I have a son, and he last night literally he said, Mom, sometimes I worry because I feel like you don't enjoy anything anymore. And I worry about you. And I was like, well, don't worry about me. I enjoy plenty of things, right? But everything comes with this baseline understanding of what's happening behind it, So, but yeah, let's do the lunchtime. Let's pick a day.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Lunchtime.
Yeah. So, well, listen, we will reconvene with Ajamu and the good folks at BAP on another occasion. And we'll just enjoy the clickbait of the thumbnail for the moment. And encourage folks, again, please do like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon here at Black Liberation Media. Make sure you have the bell rung so you don't miss all the great programming. And find some other way if you can't or haven't. Find a new way to support the platform. And no live for me tonight, everybody. But stay tuned. If you make sure you have the bell rung, so when there is another Saturday night live, Saturday dusk, you can come through and get that early bird old folks dinner time special. But yeah, everybody, Renee, great job on the recovery, the run sheet, thorough, just like the Thanksgiving spread looked to be. And salute again to the undefeated chat as always for coming through. So yeah, any other last bits of encouragement?
We're good. We're next week. Shout out to Dre. Dre's gonna come on so we could talk about progressive inertia, which I can't wait to have that conversation.
And Renee laid out the schedule on the spreadsheet for your boy, so your boy doesn't have to remain confused. I saw that you had done that and was like, it's just so helpful because your boy be over here struggling sometimes with the schedule.
I try. I try.
Renee be working extra hard. Just like Jared is a mess. So I got to add this over here. I got to put a thing over there. I got to put a note over there. I got to send him a text. I got to send him a follow-up email saying you forgot what was happening this week. So as good as this show is, everybody, and as much work as Renee puts in, imagine that she's got to compensate for your boy here. So it's just another reason to support the show or the platform. Great job, Renee. Wonderful job. Excellent work. All right, everybody. Peace. Only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And we will catch you next time right here, same place, same time with more Saturday with Renee.